Good morning, YouTube. I am Shaggy. I am Phil Alitea, and recording in landscape is different. It's interestingly different than recording vertical. But I've been awake for a few hours now, doom scrolling YouTube, looking for ideas, and I've hit on one. I've had a religious revelatory experience this morning in my tent, and I don't know that I'm going to talk about I know what that feels like, because my thoughts don't race very often. My thoughts don't rush out ahead of my ability to predict and plot and map and tree them out. And when they do, it's because God's talking. God is trying to fit an idea into my head. Or maybe it's Rob, or maybe it's Freud, or maybe that's who it is, doesn't matter. I think of it, I conceptualize it as being connected more closely than normal to the source of being, and the source of being is the wellspring of all information, and so you might call that the Akashic Records. And so if you're the kind of person who's interested in mysticism and Jungian psychology and New Age mumbo jumbo, if you're interested in that shit, I am your Messiah. I'm the one. I'm the one you've been waiting for. You think it's you. You think it's you because you haven't read Manly P. Hall closely enough. And so I've been talking all morning, and I realized that what I need to be talking about, because I can articulate to you what Phil Alitea means, what it is, what I do, how I can call myself, how I can give myself a religious designation, and it's not exactly the same as giving oneself one's own nickname. Because what you don't understand is that I haven't given myself a username. My username is VKDennis87. I have made that clear over and over and over again, even switching my Twitter away from being a creative profile using a creative nom de plume or pseudonym. That means fake name, or nom de plume means, well, name de plume, but the plume here we're talking pen, so pen name. And how do you not know what a pen name is? You all know that, what's her name? J.K. Rowling couldn't hack it as her pen name. She's not good enough. You all know that you didn't like her work that wasn't in Harry Potter because she's not good enough. You know these things. And so that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm always talking about, is taking things that you know to be facts and applying them where they're appropriate otherwise. It's like, how can I know what a writer is like if I have never known a writer? Okay, well, I can start to create character profiles like I do when I read their works about them. Right? I can make these profiles. I can start to predict what they're going to behave like. I can say, oh, well, you seem like a combination of the character profiles of author A and author XA. And so I can predict that author B in A, who I'm looking at right now, is going to behave like some combination of A and XA, because they're some combination of one another's personality. So I can imagine that I can predict, right? And then prediction, this is what I don't understand, is like, I think maybe it's sports talk and politics talk and all of the fan talk that you consume. I don't consume this shit. You have to understand. I call it shit because it mounds up. It's just bullshit. It needs to be shoveled and turned into something useful. But that takes many orders of magnitude more people than are producing the bullshit. You understand this. I know you understand this. I know you know it because you'll say it in moments of overwhelmed cynicism. When you're overwhelmed by the state of existence. I wish you could see me right now. I wish you could see how I'm posed. I actually have my legs crossed, and I've got my stupid hands like this to remind myself to be calm and to meditate. That's why they do this. Oh, man. Because you just assume that everybody who lived in India had the religious tolerance that they have today. That you assume they have today. Because their news cycle and their culture is just heaping mounds of bullshit everywhere. Tell me I'm fucking wrong. And then look at their major populated cities. And tell me that it's not just heaping mounds of bullshit everywhere. And it takes many orders of magnitude more people than their governors and their political and intellectual elites to parse out for the world outside that mound of bullshit what's in it. You understand how archaeology works, right? Like, archaeology is the process of taking a hill, turning it into a mound of bullshit, and then sifting the bullshit. And you understand that there's like one lead archaeologist and maybe 1,000 people working on the site. That's 3 orders of magnitude more than the guy who created the mound. Can you understand how this works as an abstraction? Abstractions build out. Abstractions apply across different ideal situations. Both real and abstract. Like, this is basic Plato, folks. This is basic cognition. This is basic thought. Like, if you can't do what I'm doing, you're not a thinking person. You need to stop, you need to start over at the beginning. Just because you have a high school degree, just because you have a college degree, doesn't mean you think worth a damn. Because if it takes more than you, if it takes orders of magnitude more people than you to articulate what you're trying to say, to sift through the bullshit that you create, then you need to be important. Because you're productive. You're intellectually productive. But you and I both know that your problem isn't that you think about too much. It's that you don't think well enough. It's like you've got this 50-pound barbell, right? And you want to be able to lift it. Let's say 50-pound kettlebell, because I used to kettlebell exercise. You got this 50-pound kettlebell. I hurt myself actually transporting a 25-pound kettlebell on my bicycle, because I'll tell this story real quickly because it's relevant to what I'm trying to articulate to you, in that this is what I'm thinking about. This is the abstraction that I'm applying to the story that I'm telling. I was a commuter bicyclist, and I cycled uphill for 2 miles. It was literally the whole way was uphill for 2 miles, and then it was downhill for 2 miles. It's Ohio, and it can be hilly around here. Anyway, downhill for 2 miles. And then I chose to, on my way home from work one day, I was feeling really good about myself. I'd made a little bit of extra money, and that week I'd worked a few extra hours, and I no longer had a girlfriend. So fuck it. I can spend a few extra dollars on myself and improving my condition. So I'm going to upgrade from a 10-pound kettlebell to a 25-pound kettlebell this week. I'm ready. And so I ride over to Walmart, which is flat the whole way. It's flat, but it's 2 miles, and it's flat. But I didn't think in my head, I'm doubling how far I'm traveling today. It didn't occur to me. I'm in a good mood. I'm feeling good. The ride there was easy. It's flat, right? Most of the ride home, I didn't even pedal. You just coast because it's flat. Anyway, put this 25-pound kettlebell in my backpack, not thinking about that's 25 pounds that I'm adding to the weight on this bike. Even if I'd put it in either of the saddlebags on my bike or just strapped it to the back of my bike, because I had all kinds of ability to I had all kinds of space to transpose shit on my bike. Everything I needed could fit on that bike, and I was prepared to anyway. I hurt myself. I gave myself saddle sores because I was allowing all of my weight and that plus that 25 pounds to drag me down into the bike. And so just I turned my pelvic floor muscles into Play-Doh spaghetti. And then when I went to ride later, they rapidly unfurled and just micro tore all the way. It's just now they're all gone, but I just had micro tears all through my pelvic floor muscles. And I was refused medical service I've been refused medical attention by 4 doctors. So that's what I'm thinking about when I say you already have the 50-pound kettlebell, but you can't lift it. So you're the kind of person, just like that guy that I did that video about today, you're the kind of person who's got this 50-pound kettlebell. You love Taco Bell. Let's just say that you're that guy and you love Taco Bell. Taco Bell is daddy. You've transferred all of your Oedipal attention, all of your filial piety onto Taco Bell. I don't think it's impossible that's happened. I don't think it's impossible that I've done it many times. Various corporate identities allowed them to replace my father figure, because I use Oedipal in shorthand, assuming that you understand that the Oedipal complex is a Freudian idea that every male is born in conflict with his father for the love and devotion of the mother, because the wife is responsible for making sure that the husband is doing the push-ups necessary to swing around his 50-pound kettlebell that's going to launch him to his dreams. If you think of like a kettlebell as like a magic flying device, like how Thor like spins Mjolnir on his wrist and then throws it, and then it throws him because it's still attached to him. That's how he flies, right? And then you think of like a kettlebell doing that for you. Like, that's your wife's responsibility, is to keep you swinging that kettlebell around so you can get to your dreams. Well, your mother as a male, her responsibility is to teach you how to swing a kettlebell. And so there is a natural conflict between father and son. And this is why there are so many lesbians now, is because once families started having only one child, it became between father and only child. Because it used to be the father's responsibility to do that equivalent for the female child. But if you don't have a male and a female child, then the father is just locked into Oedipal conflict with his daughters. And what happens there is weird sex shit. That's what happens there. All right? That's what happens. Stop having only one child. Families, seriously, stop fucking having only one child. Women can have only one child. I'm not telling women to stop having only one child. If you only want to mother one child, fine. Fathers, for fuck's sake, have one of either gender. If you have to have 2, fucking do it. 2 women, do it. It's what it takes. I'm not kidding. If you don't have one of both genders as a father, you come out fucking weird. Tell me I'm wrong. Look at the last 100 years. Prove to me I'm wrong. Demonstrate to me that I'm wrong. Can't prove anything. You can't prove I'm wrong. You're not doing math, you see? Why I talk so much about mathematics and mathematical thinking, and why you really need it. Why you need to embrace that you need it. So anyway, I told that story inside out. If you've got this 50-pound kettlebell that you need to move around, you have a lot of options, but you have a lot that you need to get there. And I don't remember exactly why I was telling that story, but the point is, I'm always talking about self-improvement, and I'm always losing my temper anymore, because all of you watch self-improvement bullshit and do none of it. You do none of the behaviors. So you bombard me with your feel-good self-improvement like I need to self-improve because it makes you feel good to share it out into the universe, but then you do none of it. You do none of it. And so I do all of it, and then I come to you thinking, okay, well, let's have a conversation about stress testing this idea that you put out into the universe that you say you like and that you gave me, and you go, oh, I don't do that. What the fuck is wrong with you? And then you feel like you're in a position to have to defend that guy because I'm going, yeah, I could have written that guy's book. He did a shit job. I hated it. And now I'm mad at you for presenting it to me. You do have to defend that guy. You feel like you have to. You know you're inadequate to it because you haven't read it. You haven't finished it. You haven't applied it to your life. You have no actual opinion. And then now I'm just pissed off. Now I'm just unresolvedly pissed off, and you think that I'm just an asshole. Well, he's just always pissed off about something. He's just always pissed off about stuff, and I don't understand why. You don't put any of it into practice, and then you get mad at me for mastering it. You know how self-defeating that is for me? And so I really am. I'm still thinking about that chick last night. Still thinking about that chick last night. I'm laughing about how the Tolkien's orcs are people from the Orkney Islands. And that he spelled it O-R-C so nobody would notice. And he lied about it. He lied about his reason. I've been making videos about this on YouTube all week. I'm still thinking about this chick, and she comes and she wants to give me some snide. And see, the thing is, it was even hidden. It was a hidden comment. She didn't want me to see it. Twitter didn't want me to interact with her. She's already on a watch list as a thief, a liar, and a damned cunt, which is just called a witch in her language, among her people. It was the Scottish Lowlands that gave us that language. And so what I'm talking about is, why do I know more about your interests, your specialties, your homeland than you do? Why did I take more time to actually know? And so anyway, I've been talking about, I'm probably not allowed to do this. I don't endorse smoking. Don't do it. I don't endorse these companies. Don't do it. But there are already labels on everything, and you're stupid enough to think that you're invincible from the tooth decay, the heart disease, the inability to catch your breath from the lung damage. I know what I'm doing. I want to be dead. I don't want to prolong this life. In fact, God's going to strike me with a cancer of some sort or other, regardless of what I do. And I don't make enough of an effort to put that cold-ass toothpaste in my mouth every morning, or every night for that matter. Because on some level, you won't take me seriously unless God spares me from the worst of what I put myself through. That's why you idolize rock stars. I've been thinking of it, and I just figured it out how to get there. I've been thinking all week about how to get to talk about how to get into a space where I can talk about something that I read Scott Weiland said, and I've read it multiple times, so it's something that he said a lot. The scarves are talking about Scott Weiland. That's where I got comfortable wearing scarves. It's like, if Scott Weiland can pull off a faggot-looking scarf, I can pull off a faggot-looking scarf. And I not look like a fag, not look like a total fucking douchebag. Not look like a total try-hard fairy asshole. All of this is relevant. All of this language is relevant. Because all of this comes from the same place. You don't know where any of it comes from, because what women do is women ban things. They go, oh, I don't like that, so I'm just going to ban it, because they don't think. They don't think about the ramifications. They don't think about how far they don't think about the consequences. Women don't have to think about the consequences, because women aren't locked into the Oedipal complex with their father, right? And so women have to teach kids, like, oh, well, the father used to just kill you when you were an infant if he didn't like the look of you. So act right or dad'll kill you. I have friends with small children, multiple friends with small children, whose mothers still put them in this position. So what Scott Weiland said is that as a rock star, you have to look like you're on drugs. You have to look like you're totally strung out at all times. You have to look strung out, but not be strung out. You have to maintain the look. And so on some level, I think that you won't take me seriously unless I'm missing teeth. That you won't take me seriously as a poor person unless I'm missing teeth. I know that's true because when I worked at the Dollar General in Columbus, the black people and that knew I lived in their community, they knew I lived in the apartment complex right there beside them. They knew that I lived there, they knew I lived alone, and they knew the girls that I hung out with were fucking loud. They also knew I was the only white guy in that apartment complex. And so they were allowed to be racist toward me. And they were. They were horribly racist toward me. They used to call me the worst names. Worst names. I was called fag at least 5 times a day for 6 months. By customers who believed that they were paying for the privilege to call me a fag without me defending myself. And so when I reacted and I gave them you can get the fuck out, go fuck yourself, and you don't need to come here while I'm here. They want to call corporate. And so this is why I'm talking like corporate doesn't need to put, hey, fill out the survey on their receipts anymore. Because the only people who were filling out those surveys on receipts were people who were giving negative feedback. And so the stores, the way those work is actually that the stores and the specific people that are handing out the receipt, the person actually tied into that monitor, that register, those people, they get kickbacks for 5 stars. Anything less than 5 stars, and they're actually penalized. People will be fired for 4-star reviews. And so the only people who were filling out those surveys were people who wanted the cash reward, or people who, so they were lying and just filling out 5 stars and they were useless, and because they couldn't remember the name of the cashier. That's important on those, to remember the name of the people that you dealt with. Because I've been doing this survey app, and there are better ways to get information from your end user, your customer, than surveys. The surveys now, most of the time that you spend on the survey is actually weeding you out as lying. Because the people who fill out surveys are people like me, people who are in poverty, or people who know that it's an easy way to just grind out a few bucks that you can then spend on drugs. And so that's why I haven't gotten that's why today I woke up in time to go. Right now I could be walking to go get new clothes. But I'm going to stay in these clothes for exactly as long as I can. One, because I've grown emotionally attached to them. And as a cancer and probably an autistic person, that emotional attachment is actually keeping me from spiraling completely out of control. Is just the comfort that these have become like Linus's blanket for me, these clothes, but specifically the Simon Are You a Man shirt that I'm wearing under all of it. Every time I see it, I remind myself to be a man. Are you a man? I think about it all the time. Are you a man? Are you a man? And he's at Construction Gear, so the follow-up question is, could you provide yourself a home? Could you build your own home? And it reminds me of my friend who got a nursing degree and a nursing job, not because he was temperamentally suited for it, but because it paid well, and because his mother did it, and he knew he would have a job right out of it because he came from a family of nurses, and because they're always hiring. Hates the work, but used it to buy a wife and to buy a house, and then sits in his house and watches his contractor do a bad job while he flips through YouTube videos of how to do the job properly. And so I asked him one day, I was like, why don't you just do it? Why don't you just cancel the contract, end at the money that you've already paid him, because he had to pay this guy. He had to pay this guy in installments to get him to do any work. He had to pay him for every job he did around the house. He had this contract with him, and I'm like, stop. This guy's ripping you off. And I'm telling you, this is the same thematic of people just doing jobs because there's money in it, not because they're temperamentally or skill set suited for it. Like, why don't you just do it? You watch these videos, why don't you just do it? And he's like, well, I'll mess up. And I'm like, sure, but you're going to be paying somebody even more money again to do it again because he did a bad job. And you're constantly bitching about the job he did. So you know the quality isn't there. So you'll know as you're doing it that it's not good, and you won't be satisfied with how not good it is. And I can't do that. Why can't you do that? It's your house. You own it. Why can't you change it? Why can't you make it yours? Why do you have to pay someone else to make it theirs? This is something I just can't understand. And I'm so far away from what I want to talk about. And that's fine. Because thematically, I'm still talking about the same things. And I'm trying to remember what the specific idiom that I'm trying to talk about is. But I'm also trying to get ready to leave. I want to be out of the tent. But I don't want to be doing this and walking, so I want to be as close to done as possible when I get out of the tent. I'm talking about stress testing ideas, and I'm showing you how you can just take things and assume they're true in pretense. You can pretend to be like other people and think like other people once you learn how to think at all. I'm not here to teach you to think anything. I'm not here to teach you fuck all. And that's why I keep thinking about that fucking Scottish chick wanting to say, well, just a quick Google search doesn't prove anything. And it's like, I'm not trying to prove a claim. I'm not trying to prove a claim. This is Twitter. This is YouTube, folks. This is not academe. I am speaking to the lowest common denominator of the human populace. I am advocating. I am popularizing. I'm just being Philaletea. And that's what Philaletea is. I've been really working toward how to talk about this. How to talk about what Philaletea is and what it means. And it's the ability to wear the ritual clothing of other people's truths because you love it. You love truth. And then seeking whether their truth is the ultimate truth or not, whether they have ultimate truth. Stress testing their ideas is Philaletea. Because a lover of something, like, the sexual act is beautiful, but I just advocated for men to have more than one partner. It doesn't make sense for women to have only one partner. Just for genetic diversity, it doesn't make sense. This is why racism becomes evil and hateful, is because there are women that you're not allowed to love. And in that way, there are truths you're not allowed to love. And so in defiance as a romantic and as a lover and as a passionate person, I fell in love with truth. And I fall in love with the truths of people that I hate. I fall in love with the truth of their nature. Like I'm smitten. I'm struck by Cupid or Eros's arrow, not sexually, but with admiration, love, adoration, worship, the impulse to worship. Many, many women around this town. I wouldn't impregnate or even try to penetrate any of them. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you. But as a woman, it's very hard for a woman to hear that he's a lover or that she's a lover without the submission to penetration. Because women understand that ideas come inside you. Euphemistically and otherwise. So when I was a kid, when I was in fifth grade, maybe the first half of sixth grade, I became very interested in viruses. Very interested in viruses. Because the only things in school that I became interested in frankly, the only things during school that I became interested in were the things that we were given independent study. So I became very interested in platypus in 4th grade, and I became very interested in viruses in either 5th or the first half of 6th grade. Because my science teacher, the same one that I've actually written about either in the journals or just on my blog, about he got into a creationist. He was defending creationism, and it really upset me. He was defending young Earth creationism from a science teacher pulpit, and it really upset me. And I used the word pulpit instead of the other lectern. I used pulpit instead of lectern on purpose because I'm a wordsmith. I know what words mean, and so I can be creative in error. And women hate that. Women hate it when you're wrong on purpose. I'm wrong on purpose a lot. I'm wrong on purpose a lot because I'm trying to get you to fight me. Because what happens is these people come up to me and they're like, "Defend your position!" And I'm like, my position has been defended for millennia, thousands of years. My position has been defended. I will not defend my position. Assault my position. All you like. And they got nothing. They got nothing. I ask all the time. I used to really meditate on it a lot. And imagine I used to really talk about it a lot. But what is it? What kind of warrior, if you understand that I'm talking about the Heraclitus quote about warriors. He says I'm not going to get the math right, but he says that out of any 100 men that go to war and combat, 99 of them are fine to be there. And there's some amount of, like, you got 20 of them that shouldn't be there, and 50 of them who are going to maintain their shields without running, and then there are 10 of them who are heroes, but there's one, however the math works out, one of them is a true warrior. And that one man, that one true warrior, expert in warfare, is going to make sure that the other 99 make it home alive. So, who is the warrior? Why would a warrior, what sort of warrior, shows up to combat without his weapons? This is a koan for you to figure out. It's something I think about a lot, and thematically it's appropriate. Because I've been calling a lot of people this week to war. I've been calling a lot of people. The UK needs a civil war worse than anything in the history of the world. The England needs to not exist. Desperately needs to not exist. I don't know how you can look at a map of the UK and think, yeah, England is fair. England is just. That's a just state. I don't know how you can look at that map and think that. And then I don't know how you can hear a British person criticize the way that the United States was settled and the way we deal with the indigenous natives. I don't know how you can even listen. Yeah. Stress test ideas, folks. Stress test them. Pretend to believe what they believe as you go around in your ordinary day to day. Because you're not going to get the proof today let's just say you're a 17-year-old. No, let's just say you're a recently turned 18-year-old who hasn't been weaponized by either of the major American political parties. And it's an election year, you're 18, and you haven't been weaponized, but you want to participate, you want to do your civic duty, and you want to do it right. So you want to vote for the worldview and the future, not that best benefits you, but that you believe to be the most just for everyone. Because that's how we used to vote. The idea was to approach the greatest good. The greatest good for the greatest many. Because if we could create prosperity and security without sacrificing liberty for as many people as possible, and then open the door for social mobility to allow that greatest number to grow and continue to grow with every election, then the myth of perpetual growth toward prosperity, the myth of the more perfect union, the dream of justice could be realized. And so it's important to you to do it right. You're not going to know when you cast your ballot. You're not going to find out. You're not going to learn whether it was the greatest good the moment you cast your ballot. In fact, you're not going to know the next time the ballots come around whether that was the right choice, unless it was a colossally bad choice. You're not going to know minimum for 6 years, because that's the way in the United States our political structure is set up, that everything that's put in takes 6 years to take effect, so that the people who put it in don't lose their jobs for the reason of the time it takes to get it right. So they take 6 years to prep, so that when they don't get it right when they initially roll it out, they at least have the well, we're just doing the best we can with the people that you kicked out 2 years ago. Which goes back to the tough titty little kitty conversation that corporations still have with their consumers, but which the government no longer has with its. Because political science majors are some of the softest, most spineless human beings ever born. And Marxists and feminists are. And soft, cowardly people cannot handle the truth. That's why there are entire intellectual schools devoted to like Marxism and feminism, devoted to the concept that you can't prove a negative, and that no idea is ever completely finished being built, so can never be stress tested as a finished product. Which is kicking, I don't know how to articulate exactly what that is. It's the kicking the can down the road in a bad relationship. She's always got some excuse. They've always got some excuse. Oh well, it's the person who can just never shows up on time, ever. There's a name for that. There's an entire class of people that live in the way I'm describing. That got really wet. It's being reliable, or it's being deliberately unreliable, so no one will ever rely on you to be reliable. That's what it is. It's being a calculated pathological liar, so no one will ever count on you to tell the truth when it matters. It's deliberately holding out plausible deniability for major crimes. It's emulating the mega wealthy. And it's everything that, this is why I say that I don't have to defend my position that this is bad behavior and you desperately need to stop. Because every civilization that has ever collapsed in the century before it collapsed, its major thinkers were saying, you gotta fucking stop this exact behavior that you're all doing. And then when the civilization collapses, at the end of the collapse, the people who survive always tell their grandchildren that the reason it collapsed is because their gods and their ancestors and the supreme god of being hated the way they behaved. Whatever 1,000 years later, it might even have been as many as 1,300 years later. I can't remember exactly when Edward Gibbon wrote, but he wrote the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, and he concluded that the reason the empire collapsed is because the self-satisfaction of Roman Christianity turned a blind eye to its own iniquities, became soft, and just assumed that because they were majority Christian, people like the barbarian Visigoths would give them the benefit of the doubt that they were good people, and so they didn't have to be held accountable for lying in their commitments. And this is what I'm talking about. My buddy who just let that contractor rip him off and rip him off and rip him off and rip him off and rip him off. It's like because he dressed well and he showed up to the job looking like a contractor, looking like a professional, he just continued to let him rip him off. He looked like a good person. And so you were willing to extend him the benefit of the doubt that he was, when he was a scumbag under all that. I do the same behavior. I give everybody who comments on my channel the benefit of the doubt that they're just a stupid person who doesn't know how to use words, but is, under all of it, a good person. I keep being proved wrong. Everybody who's donated to me, and like, there's a certain amount of I'm like, don't do it. Just never do it. There's a certain amount of every single person who's donated to me has been an absolute shithead. I'm not even sorry to say that. Because I tell them what they're getting, and they tell me no thanks. And it's like, maybe what I need, if what I want is to be successful, is to dress for the kind of success that I want. My legs are cold. I should probably put on those damn pants, but I don't want to wear those pants anymore. They're so annoying. Alright, it's so much earlier than I think it is, so I'm going to get down to Christ's table so much sooner than I really want to, but if I don't get out of the tent now, I'm going to smoke all my cigarettes and smoke all my weed and make exactly no money and let my battery die, and it's just not going to be a productive day, so the time is now to move. I have had my revelatory experience. I'm certain that I have forgotten to say some of the things that I wanted to say and that I realized. But the big thought that I had is, what if we are all transferring our Oedipal impulse? What if Freud is right and we all have it? We all have it. And because none of our fathers are competitive with us, None of our fathers is competitive with us. My dad used to get so frustrated that he couldn't compete with me. Because we're better educated than our parents. We're better educated, and our parents chose, here, give me a second. Our parents refused to become fluent in modernity. And I don't mean in slang alone. I do mean in our music. And I mean in the 90s and the 80s. Our parents refused to get fluent in technology. That means VCRs, like our mothers refusing to know how to program their VCRs. So anyway, they refused to get fluent in all of that as an attention-getting technique, right? Because women forever have relied on being weak and soft and demure to get the attention of their big, strong, ideal man. And so women forever have just like, I don't know how to fix this spinning loom thing. Oh, daddy. The women have done that forever. Well, that comes from growing up with siblings and having a dad out of the house. And so I'm not saying it's a bad behavior, but our mothers refusing to get fluent in modernity, and our fathers not having to. And so fathers delineating around cool dads and not cool dads, right? That was a real thing in the 90s. A real phenomenon. It's caused us to believe that we can choose what we become fluent in the modern age, and we can. But good luck. Good luck being successful. Good luck finding your way out of poverty. Good luck finding your way to that dream wife, that dream house. Good luck finding anything sustainable without being multi-fluent. And I don't just mean in language. Yeah, you really want to learn Spanish, especially if you want to be in management or you want to be a business owner, because there's some percentage of your employee base that's going to speak Spanish, and if you can't speak to them, you exist in a different world than they are. You can't relate to them in a meaningful way as a human if you both own them and don't speak their language. And frankly, because I say this all the time, you are what you do. I can't figure how we separate what we are, who we are, from how we spend our time. And so on some level, I understand, and I actually do respect if what you think of me is because I only do these in 3-minute chunks anymore, with the rare live and the rare long form like this, and because I only talk, and because I refuse to cite my research or what I know. I tell you, Google it your goddamn self. But that's what storytellers do, y'all. I'm a storyteller. I'm a storyteller and a social commentarian. I am Phil Alitea. I'm religious. I'm not an academic. I hate academics. I mean that. I do mean that. There are a few academics that I hold in high esteem, but I still hate them. I wouldn't hang out with them. And if I did hang out with them, our conversations would be about how much I hate the industry that they work for. Trying to find common ground on them not being exactly like the thing I hate. And so now I'm emerging into humanity. As you can see, there are people around, and they get weird, especially when they can see that my phone is plugged into a battery in my pocket. So I've probably been doing this for a while. So I'm gonna end there. Take care. Thanks for watching this if you made it that far. That's pretty cool. I'll be back